Sorry everybody, it's Xilicks here, and welcome to another Guild Wars 2 build video. Today I am on my warrior, and we are going to go over a Hambow build that I've seen before, but this is my slightly modified version of it. Usually, whenever you see a Hambow, they go for a Berserker's Amulet with something like Lissa runes or just some kind of different rune set, usually more damage based or condition clear or something along those lines. This build, I decided, since the meta for PvP right now is kind of make your team all bunker, sit on one point, and just bunk the whole game. I decided Hambow bunker might work out pretty well. So I went with the Soldier Amulet along with Dolyak runes. The regeneration from Dolyak runes works really well with the healing signet. They both go at the same time. You get a lot of healing from it. Makes you really tanky. On our weapons, obviously, hammer and bow. Sigil battle on the hammer. Sigil paralyzation on the hammer as well. This will increase your stun from your Earthshaker, which you will have like all the time because this build is just based on spamming your adrenaline bar. Then on the longbow, I have a Sigil Battle and a Sigil Force. Now, the Sigil Force here can also be replaced with the Sigil Bloodlust. However, for more of a 1v1 scenario, you probably want the Force Sigil, considering you're not going to have those stacks. However, if you're bunking a point, Bloodlust Sigil is definitely the better option. Looking at the stats here, we have 3.3 armor, 2,000 power, which is pretty low. But you're still going to be doing a decent amount of damage. Your damage isn't going to be like low. Our health is almost at 27,000, so we're at very high health. Healing power 300. This doesn't really help much considering that all of our healing comes from regeneration. So the 300 healing power doesn't do much for our build. However, we do have two blast finishers, so if there's a water field, you'll get extra healing from blasting those water fields. Our crit chance is substantially low. We're not focusing on critting. If you do want to crit, however, then I'd recommend a Cavalier Amulet with Intelligence Sigils on your weapons. This will decrease your tankiness but increase your damage. You'll still be tankier than with the Berserker's Amulet, and you'll still be hitting similarly to having a Berserker's Amulet because you'll have the same ferocity but a little bit less power. But keep in mind, the Cavalier Amulet is also, you have to buy this for 10 gold, and you would switch the battle sigils for intelligence sigils, if you were wanting to run Cavalier. The trait spread is very simple. Hambow trait spreads 00626. We have Sure-Footed for increased stance durations. We're using 3 different stances and Endure Pain, which makes you take no damage from regular attacks. Berserker Stance, which makes it so that conditions cannot be applied on you, and Balanced Stance, which gives you stability and swiftness. 2 of these are Stunbreakers, Endure Pain, and Balanced Stance. This trait makes them last 25% longer. Cleansing Ire. Gain adrenaline whenever you are hit, so every time someone hits us, we gain adrenaline. We also remove a condition for every bar of adrenaline spent. So if we have all 3 bars of adrenaline filled up, and then we use our adrenaline skill, that clears 3 conditions on us. Note, however, for the conditions to be removed, you do have to hit them with the burst skill. Our final trait is Merciless Hammer. Merciless Hammer will increase our hammer damage by 20% and reduce the cooldowns by 20%. This trait is necessary for a hammer. If you're using a hammer, you gotta have this trait. Next up in the tactics line, this is something that I personally changed. Most Hambows will run Lake Specialist because you have Cripple on your hammer, which is 9.5 second cooldown, which will give you Immobilize. I believe there's no Cripple on the longbow, which I am correct about. Lake Specialist puts Immobilize every time you do that 3 skill. It can be useful for getting off your knockdown combos. Personally, I think Empowered is better. This gives you extra, like, 3% damage because you always have these 3 boons on you, Fury, Might, and Swiftness. You'll also almost always have Vigor on you, which is another % damage, and Stability for a short while, which is a 5% damage increase. And if you're near any other players, they're probably going to be giving you boons also. Usually in combat, you're going to have around 3 to 6 boons, which is a substantial damage increase, and I honestly don't feel that it's worse than Lake Specialist. I don't think Lake Specialist is better. Another trait that you can consider is stronger bowstrings. Increases your longbow range by 20%. This doesn't increase the damage or decrease the cooldowns. Keep that in mind. It only increases the range. The longbow range on its own is 1,000. With the trait, I believe it is around 1,200. Yes, it is. So this basically just makes it so that you can shoot people from further away. Is it worth it? The extra 200 range? I have to say no. In the discipline line, gain vigor when using a stance. This is pretty obvious. So whenever we have vigor, or whenever we use a stance, we have vigor. We have 3 different stances, so that's 3 sources of vigor, and it's a decent amount of vigor timing. Destruction of the Empowered is the next trait. This will give us 3% damage for every boon on our target. Now, this works out really well with every boon on us, because now we have boons on us, they have boons on them, and we're doing extra damage for basically any boon that's thrown into combat. We do more damage for. This is a really, really good trait. The other one that you might want to consider is Signet Mastery. This will decrease the cooldown on your Signet of Rage, along with Empowered. It just gives you more uptime of those boons. However, I believe Destruction of Empowered will be better, considering that your enemy's probably going to have boons on them a lot. Last trait, Burst Mastery. Burst skills deal more damage and cost less adrenaline. So it makes it cost 33% less adrenaline, which means it only takes up 66%, which is 2 bars of adrenaline, leaving you with 1 bar. This trait I feel is the best because we're basically just focusing on weapon swapping the whole time. So now let's take a look at the minor traits. We have Thick Skin in the defense line, where you gain extra armor while your health is above the threshold. Whenever we're above 90% health, we just permanently get a plus 100 toughness. This is pretty good because with all the regen we have, we're going to sustain that for a pretty large amount of the beginning of the fight. Adrenal Health. Regenerate health based on your adrenaline level. Our adrenaline level is always going to be high. If we keep it up high, we're going to be getting an extra 405 health every time we regen. We're going to be using our adrenaline, but we're going to be gaining it back insanely fast. This is just extra healing almost constantly. Then now we're gaining power based on our toughness. We have a lot of toughness, so this is just adding to our power by a substantial amount. In tactics, we have gain extra toughness while reviving. This is really good. Whenever we see our teammate go down in battle, this is going to give us that extra defense we need while reviving, so it makes cleaving us down harder to do. In the discipline line, we have gain adrenaline on weapon swap. This is 5 strikes of adrenaline. I believe it's not a full bar. We'll see how much it is here. So whenever you weapon swap, you saw it was a decent amount of adrenaline that we gained whenever we weapon swapped. Then taking a look at the next one, weapon swap recharges faster. So if we watch our weapon swap, whenever we weapon swap, it's now 5 seconds for a weapon swap compared to, I believe it's usually 9. And then our last trait, or minor trait, is gain might on weapon swap. So along with our Sigil of Battle and our Signet of Rage, we now get 4 stacks of might every time we weapon swap, 5 stacks of might from Signet of Rage, another 4 stacks of might whenever we weapon swap. Then if we're in our longbow, we can use our fire field, we can blast into our fire field, we can swap back to hammer, blast into our fire field again, and just there you have almost 20 stacks of might. This build, you're going to always have might on you. Always, always, always. You're going to have a lot of might on you too. You're just going to have a lot of might. Now, that being said, you might want to even consider strength runes. Strength runes will increase your damage for how much might you have on you, and it will increase your might duration. However, I still feel that the Dolyak runes are the better option for what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to be tanky and stay alive on points for a really long time. So basically, for Hambow, the DPS rotation is, you usually want to start off with your bow. So if someone's approaching you, let's say this golem's walking towards us, you're going to want to pin them down, put burning on them, and then blind them with the 4 skill. Switch to your hammer, you'll have your Earthshaker. You can use the 4 skill, the 5 skill, the 2 skill to apply weakness to your target, and then you may want to cripple them. Now you can swap back to your longbow, drop the fire field, start stacking some might, put burning on them. If you notice you're getting a lot of conditions, you'll use Berserker Stance. If you're getting knocked down a lot, you'll use Balance Stance. And if you're taking a lot of pure damage, you'll take Endure Pain. These can be used together, all 3 of them, for complete invulnerability for 5 seconds. This will still allow you to capture a point, so there's no need to worry about that. You'll also usually want to start off with your Signet of Rage if you're not using it to move faster from point to point for the swiftness. The build is fairly straightforward. You have knockdowns on hammer, you have conditions and some utility on your longbow. Make sure you're almost always weapon swapping. You have that 5-second weapon swap. Make advantage of it. Take advantage of it, rather. You're going to constantly be getting adrenaline. And yeah, there's a lot of adrenaline, there's a lot of knockdowns, there's a lot of weapon swapping, there's a lot of regen for you, damage mitigation. You're very tanky with this build. Now, your damage output is not very fast. As you saw, that wasn't an insanely fast golem kill like some of my other builds might be. So, that being said, I feel that the tankiness justifies how little damage you're doing, and all the might that you'll be getting increases your damage by a fair amount. So you don't really have to worry about damage, and usually if you're in a PvP match, you might have someone like a Burst Guardian or a Burst Thief or Burst anything helping you out with damage. So damage shouldn't be someone's biggest concern. So now I'm going to basically just aggro this Thief over here so I can show you how little damage we'll actually be taking. So, yeah. And I'm just going to sit here and let him hit me.
Just about full of adrenaline.
You can see that we're full on adrenaline now. I haven't used any skills. This is just healing Signet, the Doliac runes, and the adrenal health healing me. Now, if you don't know, this Thief NPC does a lot of damage. I have not even touched my Endure Pain or anything else. I'm just quite literally taking the damage. Now, if I was using my dodges effectively, along with the Vigor and the Blind from my longbow, and just knockdowns in general, all that kind of damage mitigation, would just be a substantial amount of damage taken. So now I can activate my Endure Pain and get a free 5 seconds of just regen. I've noticed he's stunning me, so now I'm actually going to kill the Thief with a very low health handicap. So see that I can use my adrenaline skills, swap right back to my other one, activate my Berserker Stance to not take any sort of conditions, and freely be able to stomp.
What have you done?
So yeah, that's the build in the nutshell. It's a Hambow build. I'm sure a lot of you know about it. It's just my modifications to it and what I think is better with this current meta. That's about all I have to say for this. Hope you guys enjoy the build. I might make a video showing it off in fights. It is decent for 1v1ing. You can definitely 1v1, obviously, because if you want to be bunking home, you need to be able to 1v1. If you're bunking mid, you gotta 1v1. Whatever you're bunking, you're probably going to encounter 1v1, and this build can 1v1. It's not the best 1v1ing build, but it can definitely do it, and you'll definitely be really good in team fights. That's where this build excels for the most part, but bunking solo, it's also a possibility for this build. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it, and leave a comment on what you think about it. Maybe something you would change that you think is better. I have been testing this for a while, like a couple months now, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's good about where it is. There could always be modifications and tweaks to sigils, runes, maybe a trait change here and there. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Xilicks. See you guys next time. Okay, thanks, bye.